The NFL world is buzzing right now, and it's all because of what just happened between two quarterbacks who couldn't be more different. Yet somehow their stories are colliding in the most dramatic way possible this Sunday. When a four-time MVP, who's playing what's likely his final season in the league, steps up to praise a rookie quarterback who suffered one of the most embarrassing draft falls in NFL history, you know something big is brewing. And trust me, this story has layers that go way deeper than just a simple compliment before a divisional game. But before we dive into all of this, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell because we're bringing you the most in-depth NFL coverage you won't find anywhere else. Now let's get into this. Aaron Rodgers doesn't hand out compliments easily. We all know this. The man who's won 4 MVP awards, who's been to 10 Pro Bowls, who won a Super Bowl with the Packers and has cemented himself as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game, he doesn't just randomly praise rookies, especially not ones who were supposed to be superstars but ended up getting selected in the 5th round. But that's exactly what happened this week, and the timing couldn't be more perfect because on Sunday, December 28th, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns are about to face off in a game that has massive playoff implications for Pittsburgh and could define the future for a young quarterback who's had to fight through more adversity in 7 months than most players face in their entire careers. Let's rewind for a second, because to understand why Aaron Rodgers' words carry so much weight right now, you need to understand just how brutal Shedeur Sanders' journey to the NFL has been. We're talking about a quarterback who, back in November of 2024, was literally the odds-on favorite to be the #1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Think about that. This wasn't just mock draft speculation or media hype. Sportsbooks had him as the clear favorite to go first overall. He was coming off a season at Colorado where he threw for over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns, completed 74% of his passes, which led the entire nation, and won the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He was winning the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. His jersey was about to be retired at Colorado before he even left for the draft. This was supposed to be his crowning moment. And then, draft night happened. April 26, 2025, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Shedeur Sanders is sitting there with his family, dressed in this expensive black leather jacket with a massive diamond pendant, each piece carrying his signature logo, that $sign with a superscript 2. He's got Louis Vuitton bags reportedly filled with cash at his draft party back in Texas. The cameras are rolling. His father, Deion Sanders, the Hall of Famer, the Colorado head coach, is watching expectantly. And then, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward with the first overall pick. Okay, fine. Ward was the consensus #1, but then pick after pick after pick keeps happening, and Shedeur's name isn't called. The second round comes and goes. The third round, and this is where it gets really painful, the Cleveland Browns, who desperately need a quarterback, they're on the clock with the 94th pick, and they select a quarterback. But it's not Shedeur Sanders. It's Dillon Gabriel from Oregon. Can you imagine what's going through Shedeur's mind at this point? He just watched his potential future team draft a different quarterback ahead of him, and it keeps getting worse. The 4th round passes. Now we're into day 3 of the draft, the 5th round, and teams are taking players nobody had even heard of before the combine. And Shedeur Sanders, the guy who was supposed to go first overall, is still sitting there. Finally, with the 144th overall pick, the Cleveland Browns call his name again. But here's the thing, they already have a quarterback room that includes Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, who they just drafted, and Deshaun Watson, who's injured but still on the roster. Shedeur isn't walking into a situation where he's the future, he's walking into a situation where he's QB5 on the depth chart.
And we need to talk about what this means financially, because it's absolutely staggering. Remember, Shedeur was once projected to go #1 overall. Cam Ward, who did go first, signed a rookie deal worth $48.8 million with a signing bonus of $32.2 million. Shedeur Sanders signed a 4-year deal worth $4.6 million with a signing bonus of $447,000. Do the math. That's a difference of over $44 million. $44 million. That's not just money. That's generational wealth that vanished because of a draft slide that nobody saw coming. So what happened? How does a quarterback go from being the favorite for the #1 pick to falling all the way to pick 144? And this is where the story gets really complicated, because it wasn't just about his talent on the field. Multiple NFL insiders have come out and painted a picture of a pre-draft process that went completely off the rails. Tom Pelissero from NFL Network reported that a longtime NFL assistant coach said Shedeur's formal interview was, and I'm quoting here, "the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life." The same coach called him so entitled and said he had horrible body language. Another longtime AFC executive told reporters that their interview with Shedeur didn't go great and that he wanted to dictate what he was going to do in what's best for him, making them feel small. But it goes even deeper than bad interviews. Shedeur made the decision to skip the Shrine Bowl practices in February. He didn't participate in drills at the NFL Combine in March. These are opportunities where quarterbacks who aren't locks for the first round typically try to show teams what they can do. But Shedeur approached the entire process like he was already a guaranteed top pick. And according to multiple reports, there was this perception that the Sanders family, particularly Dion, was trying to control where Shedeur would go. Remember back in March of 2024, Dion said on a podcast that if Shedeur or Travis Hunter got drafted by a team they didn't want to go to, he would step in and pull an Eli Manning, meaning force them not to go to that team and get traded. That sent shockwaves through NFL front offices, because teams don't want to draft a player if they know the family is going to create drama before the kid even puts on a uniform. And here's the brutal reality that league sources shared with Fox Sports. One source said, and I'm quoting, "He's a good person, but people didn't like the personality. He's the biggest celebrity since Johnny Manziel to enter the draft. But unlike Manziel, Shedeur doesn't have character issues. He's not a partier, not into drugs or drinking. The problem was the celebrity status, the attention, the reality show atmosphere that followed him and his father at Colorado for 2 years. NFL teams were looking at Shedeur and thinking, do we really want to deal with all of this for a backup quarterback? Because by the time the draft was happening, most teams had already evaluated him and decided he wasn't a guaranteed starter, and nobody, absolutely nobody, wants a celebrity backup quarterback eating up all the media attention while sitting on the bench. So Shedeur falls to Cleveland in the 5th round, and honestly, a lot of people thought his NFL career was over before it started. He's buried on the depth chart. The Browns are a mess of an organization. He just lost $44 million. His reputation has taken a massive hit. The entire football world is questioning whether he'll ever play a meaningful snap. But then something interesting starts to happen. The season starts, Deshaun Watson is injured, the Browns are struggling, sitting at 2-11 after 11 weeks, and then in Week 11, against the Baltimore Ravens, Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback the Browns drafted before Shedeur, he suffers a concussion, and suddenly, Shedeur Sanders gets his shot, his NFL debut. And you know what? He doesn't embarrass himself. He completes 14 of 23 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns in a loss to the Panthers. Not spectacular, but competent, professional. He shows he belongs on an NFL field. And then Week 12 happens, his first start against the Las Vegas Raiders. He throws his first career touchdown, a 66-yard screen pass to Dylan Sampson. He's making plays, he's showing mobility. The Browns actually keep it competitive. Week 13 against the Chicago Bears, he's improving, learning the speed of the game, making better decisions. And then Week 14 against the Tennessee Titans. This is where everything changes. Shedeur Sanders has a breakout game. 364 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, his first rushing touchdown, 29 rushing yards. He's making throws down the field. He's extending plays. He's showing that arm talent that made him a first-round prospect in so many mock drafts. The Browns lose 31-29, but Shedeur wins NFL Rookie of the Week. He ties for the 3rd most passing yards by a Browns rookie in a single game. His 3 touchdown passes tie for the 2nd most by a Browns rookie. And here's the key. He's not just putting up stats. He's showing improvement every single week. He's showing maturity. He's showing he can handle adversity. Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, names him the starter for the rest of the season. And suddenly, a guy who was supposed to be QB5 on the depth chart, a guy who was the biggest draft bust story of 2025, is now the starting quarterback for an NFL team. And he's got a real chance to prove that all 32 teams made a massive mistake by passing on him 143 times.
Which brings us to this week, December 28th. The Cleveland Browns are 3-12. Their season is over. But Shedeur Sanders is playing for something much bigger than this season. He's playing for next season. He's playing for his career. He's playing to prove that the interviews were wrong, that the scouts were wrong, that the draft slide was wrong. And standing on the opposite sideline is going to be Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Aaron Rodgers showing up in this story isn't random. This is his 21st NFL season. He signed a one-year deal with the Steelers back in June after 2 disappointing years with the New York Jets, where he tore his Achilles in the season opener of 2023 and then struggled through 2024. He told Pat McAfee back in June that he's pretty sure this will be his final season. He's 42 years old. He's thrown for 2,860 yards, 23 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions this season. He hasn't thrown an interception since Week 10. He's been on a tear, leading the Steelers to 3 straight wins. They're 9-6, 1 game away from clinching the AFC North Division title. And earlier this week, Aaron Rodgers was asked about Shedeur Sanders, and here's what he said. "There's a tough draft slide, obviously, much longer wait than mine was. It seems like he's been patient and worked on his craft, and he's been playing pretty good the last few weeks." Let me tell you why this quote is so significant. First of all, Rodgers himself knows what it's like to fall in the draft. He was supposed to be the #1 pick in 2005, but he fell to 24th. Alex Smith went first. Rodgers had to sit there in the green room while pick after pick passed him by. It wasn't as bad as Shedeur's fall, not even close, but Rodgers understands that feeling of being undervalued, of having to prove people wrong. So when he says Shedeur has been patient and worked on his craft, that's not generic coach speak. That's one Hall of Fame quarterback recognizing the mindset of another player who might have what it takes to succeed. But the second part of that quote is even more important. He's been playing pretty good the last few weeks. Aaron Rodgers doesn't say that lightly. He's famously critical. He holds himself to impossible standards, and he holds everyone around him to those same standards. For him to publicly acknowledge that Shedeur Sanders, a 5th-round rookie who's played 6 games, has been playing pretty good, that's massive validation. That's Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest to ever do it, telling the entire NFL world that this kid has something real. And the timing of this praise matters too, because it's coming right before the Steelers and Browns face off. The Steelers could clinch the division with a win or a Ravens loss on Saturday night. This is a game that matters for Pittsburgh. They're not going to take it lightly. They're not going to rest starters unless the division is already locked up before kickoff. And on the other side, the Browns are 3-12. Their season is a disaster, but Shedeur Sanders has a chance to go out there and show out against one of the best teams in the conference, against a legendary quarterback in front of his home crowd. But this game has another layer that makes it even more dramatic. Myles Garrett, the Browns' defensive end. He currently has 22 sacks on the season. The NFL single-season sack record is 22.5, held by Michael Strahan and, ironically, Steelers linebacker T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett is 1 sack away from breaking that record, and he told reporters this week that it would be special to break it by sacking Aaron Rodgers. He called Rodgers legendary and said it would be a great picture to put on the wall. And here's the thing. Garrett has played Aaron Rodgers twice in his career and hasn't sacked him either time. So this isn't just about the record. This is personal. Garrett wants that moment. He wants to take down one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to cement his own legacy. So on Sunday, you've got all of these storylines colliding at once. You've got Shedeur Sanders trying to prove his draft slide was the biggest mistake of 2025. You've got Aaron Rodgers, in what's likely his final season, trying to lead the Steelers to a playoff berth and validate his decision to play one more year. You've got Myles Garrett hunting history, 1 sack away from breaking a record that stood since 2001. And you've got a Browns team that's had a miserable season, but could play spoiler and knock their division rival out of first place. And the quarterback battle at the center of all of this is fascinating because Shedeur and Aaron represent 2 completely different eras of football, two completely different paths to the NFL. Aaron was a first-round pick who sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years, learning, developing, waiting for his chance. When he finally got it, he seized it and never let go. He won a Super Bowl, 4 MVPs, redefined what it means to be an elite quarterback. Shedeur, on the other hand, came into the league with massive expectations, suffered a humiliating draft fall, got thrown into the fire as a 5th-round pick on a terrible team, and has had to prove himself from day one, with no safety net, no development time, just sink or swim. But what's interesting is that Aaron sees something in Shedeur's approach, the patience, the willingness to work, the fact that he hasn't let the draft slide destroy him mentally. Because that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about the draft. It's not just about where you get picked, it's about how you respond to where you get picked. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. The draft spot doesn't define your career. What defines your career is what you do after that. And Shedeur Sanders is showing week by week, game by game, that he's not going to let the 5th round define him. He's got the arm talent. He completed 74% of his passes in college. He threw for over 4,000 yards, 37 touchdowns. He can make every throw. The question was never his physical ability. The question was always about the mental side, the leadership, the decision-making, the ability to handle adversity. And over the last 4 weeks, he's been answering those questions. His completion percentage is still a work in progress at 55% through 6 games, but he's thrown 6 touchdowns against 8 interceptions, and the touchdown-to-interception ratio is improving as he gets more comfortable. He's not trying to do too much, he's not forcing throws, he's taking what the defense gives him. He's extending plays with his legs when he needs to. He's showing he can operate under pressure. Kevin Stefanski, the Browns coach, has said that Shedeur will start for the rest of the season regardless of what happens. That's a vote of confidence in a 5th-round pick, and it's not something you see very often, especially on a team that also has Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl MVP, and Kenny Pickett, a former 1st-round pick, on the roster. But Stefanski sees something in Shedeur, and now Aaron Rodgers sees it too. The Steelers are favored by 3.5 points on Sunday. The over-under is 34 points. It's expected to be a low-scoring defensive battle, which makes sense given that the Browns have the 2nd-best defense in the league in terms of total yards allowed per game. Myles Garrett is going to be in Aaron Rodgers' face all game long, hunting that record. The Browns' secondary, despite the team's record, has been solid. They're giving up the fewest passing yards per game in the entire NFL. So Shedeur is going to have to make smart decisions. He can't turn the ball over. He has to take care of the football. But if he can do that, if he can manage the game, make a few plays when they're there, and most importantly, keep the Browns competitive, that's a huge win for his development.
And on the flip side, if Aaron Rodgers can protect the ball, get the Steelers into the playoffs, and avoid Myles Garrett's record-breaking sack, that sets up what could be a magical playoff run for Pittsburgh. A legendary quarterback in his final season, leading a hungry team with a dominant defense, that's a recipe for a deep playoff push. And if the Steelers can clinch the division on Sunday, that means they'll have home field advantage for at least the wildcard round, which is massive. But regardless of what happens on the scoreboard Sunday, the real story is what Aaron Rodgers said about Shedeur Sanders. Because in a league where veterans don't usually go out of their way to praise rookies, especially rookies on opposing teams, especially rookies who were huge question marks coming into the season, Aaron Rodgers went on record and said that Shedeur has been playing pretty good. He acknowledged the draft slide, he acknowledged the patience, he acknowledged the work ethic. And for a 5th-round pick who's been doubted every step of the way, who's been called entitled, who's been called brash, who's been told he's not good enough, who's lost $44 million because 32 teams passed on him, to hear one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time say that you're the real deal, that means everything. Because at the end of the day, football is about respect. It's about earning the respect of your teammates, your coaches, your opponents. And when a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't hand out compliments, who doesn't sugarcoat anything, when he looks across the field at a rookie quarterback and says that kid has something, that carries weight. That changes the narrative. That makes every scout, every GM, every team that passed on Shedeur Sanders in the draft start to second-guess their decision. And this is just the beginning for Shedeur. He's got 2 more games this season. The Browns are going to finish with a top 5 pick in the 2026 draft, which means they're probably going to have a chance to take a quarterback high if they want to. So Shedeur's job over these final 2 weeks isn't just to play well, it's to play so well that the Browns have no choice but to build around him. It's to play so well that when the offseason comes, when the front office is making decisions about the future, they look at Shedeur Sanders and say, this is our guy. This is the franchise quarterback we've been searching for. Forget the draft slide, forget the 5th round, forget all the noise. This kid can play. And if he can do that, if he can turn what was supposed to be a career-ending disaster into a career-defining opportunity, then the Shedeur Sanders story goes from being one of the biggest busts in draft history to one of the greatest comeback stories in recent memory. And it all starts Sunday when he takes the field against Aaron Rodgers, when the legend faces the underdog, when the final season meets the first impression. The football world will be watching. The scouts who passed on him will be watching. The GMs who took other quarterbacks will be watching. And Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time MVP, the future Hall of Famer, the guy who knows what it's like to be underestimated, he'll be watching too. And he's already told us what he sees. He sees a kid who's been patient, who's worked on his craft, who's playing pretty good. He sees the real deal. And on Sunday, December 28th in Cleveland, Ohio, Shedeur Sanders gets another chance to prove that Aaron Rodgers is absolutely right. Disclaimer: this story is based on available reports, public statements, game statistics, and ongoing developments in the NFL as of December 2025. Player performances, team decisions, and career trajectories are subject to change. Information about draft processes, interviews, and behind-the-scenes evaluations comes from various sports media sources and league insiders.